The following is a summary of a Sicha of Shabbos Parshas Pinchas Tov Shin Nun Aleph. The Parsha of Pinchas discusses within it the division and the inheritance of Eretz Yisrael. In other words, which Shvatim got which portion in the land. And since we are moments before the Geula HaMitzvah V'Hashlema, therefore the reading about the conquering and the division and inheritance of the land has great relevance to our situation today. And there's a tremendous lesson that we can learn from it. There was a story of the Tzemach Tzedek that there was once a Chassid who came to the Tzemach Tzedek and he told the Rebbe that he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael to sit and learn and daven over there and spend his days over there. And the Tzemach Tzedek told him, Mach do Eretz Yisrael. Make Eretz Yisrael here. In other words, he shouldn't move to Eretz Yisrael, but rather he should make Eretz Yisrael right here. Now the story seemingly is difficult to understand. What do you mean, make here Eretz Yisrael? Here is the diaspora. There is Eretz Yisrael. What do you mean, make Eretz Yisrael here? Here is not Eretz Yisrael. So how can you make Eretz Yisrael over here? We daven every single day with our faces towards Yerushalayim. Gather us together from all the corners of the world and bring us to Eretz Yisrael. So how can you make Eretz Yisrael over here? There's a fascinating pasuk in the Torah. The Torah tells us that the decision to which part of Eretz Yisrael was to be given to each shevet was done al pi hagoyrel. It was done according to a lottery. And Rashi makes a fascinating comment based on the Medrash that what happened was that the lot itself, when it was drawn, spoke and said, this portion goes to this tribe. Therefore, al pi hagorel literally means that the lottery was cast according to the mouth of the lottery, because it spoke itself. Now, we have a rule that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not make a miracle for no reason whatsoever. And seemingly, this miracle was superfluous. Why did Hashem make a miracle that the lot itself should speak? After all, we're told that Elazar had the Urim V'Tumim, was wearing the Urim V'Tumim, and with Ruach HaKodesh, he announced also that this portion was going to this particular tribe. And if you had Ruach HaKodesh, and then you did the Goral, so why did you need that the Goral itself should speak, and this lot should say, me, this portion, I am going to this tribe? Why was it necessary to make that additional miracle? Now, seemingly, one could answer, since the Torah specifically says, ach begoyrel, only with the goyrel the land should be divided, therefore the goyrel had to be intimately involved in that clarity, and therefore it had to speak. But that itself is also difficult, because the goyrel wasn't an end in itself. It was a stepping stone to get to an end result. In other words, it was a medium. The goyrel was used to indicate which portion to go to which land. And that being the case, and we had already the Ruach HaKodesh of Elazar HaKohen, why was it necessary that the goyrel itself should speak? The Rogatchover Goin lays out an interesting principle. He says everything which is in the Torah, and therefore which has Kedusha, every detail has importance. And even if things are only an introduction to something, the introduction also has great importance. So, for example, the Masois, the 42 journeys of the Bnei Yisrael in order to get to Eretz Yisrael, are detailed in the Torah. They have importance. Or for example, by a korban. The korban had to have zrikas hadam, its blood had to be sprinkled on the altar. The hoilacha, the taking of the dam, of the blood to the altar, was also an important part of the Avodah because it was the prelude to the sprinkling. So we see that things which lead up to something in and of themselves have great importance. Similarly over here, the goral, the lottery, since this was to be the deciding factor as to whether this portion would go to that tribe, therefore it had to be bishlemus. It had to be complete and done in a complete manner. When we look at this from a deeper perspective, from the perspective of Pnimius HaTorah, what was happening in the conquering, the kibush of the land, was that the Bnei Yisrael were entering into and conquering and uprooting not just the nations, but they were entering and conquering the entire culture of the land as well. The kibush of the 7 midos, and that had to be completely conquered. That actually reflects a wider conquering, as it says in Bereshis, that Peru urevu milos ha'aretz v'chivshuha, you should be fruitful and multiply in the land and conquer it. This is the idea of conquering the olam hatachta in this lower world in order to transform it and to make it into a dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling place for Hashem. And that has to be done completely, both from the perspective of the conqueror and the one that's conquered. The conqueror has to use their machshava, dibur, and maisa, thought, speech, and action, to completely conquer the land, and the one that's conquered has to be conquered completely. And therefore, it was necessary in the goral being that which made a clarity as to which portion should go to which tribe, that had to be with such a shlemus that it had to be b'machshava, b'dibur, uba maisa. In other words, it had to be with thought, with the intention of drawing the lot. It had to be with maisa, with the actual deed of the lot, but it had to be also with dibur, and hence HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a special miracle that the girl actually spoke. This idea that Avodah has to be bishlemus, has to be complete, has its roots in a story which was told by the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab said once that a pnimi, als was tut, liegt in dem in Ganzen. A pnimi means a person who is completely focused inwardly, in the sense that there is a laser beam focus on the essence of what they're doing. They are completely invested in whatever they are doing at any given moment. And there's a story told there that once the Bochurim, the young men in the yeshiva, were singing a nigona tune, and this was a prelude to the saying of a Maimah Chassidus, of a discourse. And they sang the tune quickly in order to get to the discourse. The Rebbe Rashab said an entire talk about this, and he explained that a pnimi, wherever he is, he's there completely. And therefore, the fact that they were singing the song quickly showed that they were not completely invested in the song, even though it was only a prelude to what was to come later. In other words, one has to invest oneself completely in the introduction to that which will come later. And it's for two reasons. Number one, that when you invest yourself completely, that shows that it's truthful and it's done with inner design. And secondly, If you are there completely, it shows that the result will also be done in a complete matter. So, for example, by chinuch, by education of children, even though what you're educating to do comes later, nevertheless, when you invest yourself completely in the education, what comes out later is tremendous. And here we have the exact same thing in our Sedra, that when there's the Goyrel, which the Goyrel is the Hakdama, the prelude to the conquering of the land, that has to be done b'shleimus with machshava, dibur, and maisa, and hence the Goyrel spoke. Now we will be able to understand the concept of Machdo Eretz Yisrael. Because the fact that we are here in the diaspora is not by chance, but by hashgacha pratis. And therefore, our avodah here has to be done b'tachlis hashlemus. And dafka, when we do our avodah here completely, will we merit a complete geula. This is most emphasized in this Shabbos, which was, on that year, it was the Shabbos Mavarchim Chedesh Menachem Av. And the Minhag Yisrael, the custom is to call the month not just Av, but Menachem Av. The idea of a month which gives us comfort. Why? Because even though Av is the greatest descent to Tisha B'Av, but nevertheless, what we see is that that is only a prelude to the Menachem, to the tremendous Nechama of the Gula Mitzvah Vashlema, which will come later. And we put the word Menachem before the Av. And certainly in our generation, which we are holding Erev Shabbos After Chatzos in the 6th millennium after midday, and according to all the signs we have finished everything we need to do in the preparations for the Geula, in terms of tzuputs in the Knapelach, as the Frierdiker Rebbe said, polishing the buttons, and also we finished the avodah of imdu hachin kulchem, of standing ready for the Geula, then certainly what we need to be doing now is in our avodah b'shleimus, our avodah here in Golus, Machda Eretz Yisrael, in a complete way in thought, speech, and action. And since the Rebbe publicized this directive of Machda Eretz Yisrael, it is a directive to every single Jew, therefore, in our generation, both to the learner and the business person, that Me Hashem mitzadei gever koinonu, Hashem directs the footsteps of a person, and wherever a person is, in whichever a situation a person is, a person has to make out of that situation Eretz Yisrael, and they have to do it in a way that they're completely invested there, both in thought, speech, and action. Now, a person may ask, if they're in a far-flung corner of the world, what real difference does their actions make? And here the Rebbe says that is an incorrect thought process, but rather a person should not think what's happening and what will happen in different places, but specifically through the actions of that individual, even if it be in a far-flung corner, even if it be just in thought, speech, or in action. Nevertheless, that has a tremendous effect on the whole world. First of all, because each Jew contains within themselves the Avodah of all the other Jews, as it was in Eretz Yisrael, that each Jew has an ownership in the entire land. And even though one's Avodah may be only in one particular line, nevertheless, that includes within it all the other lines itself, and we're considered as one unit. And therefore, in short, each and every person should use their particular place in that particular time to make it a Geula Tag, and should live in a Geula way, so that they can make out of today Machda Eretz Yisrael, making it an Eretz Yisrael, a land that desires to do the will of its maker. The Goyrel spoke with a tremendous inner energy, and the lesson is that each one of us has to speak to ourselves, to our families, to those around us. And we have to be mashpia on them so that they should also speak and that they should also publicize this concept of making here Eretz Yisrael, communicating with every single Yid that we come in contact with, that our purpose and is Machdar Eretz Yisrael, to make every echelon of one's existence here in the diaspora or wherever one is a Dira B'Tachtonim. And since we're coming towards the 9 days, in the 9 days we should make an effort to make siyumim on Gemara, on Masechtas in Shas, because we look for any way halachically that we're allowed to bring out simcha during these days, and this will bring forward and reveal the inner intent of the descent, which is the ascent, which will ultimately be the Yehavchu Yomim Elu L'Moedim Tovim, that these days will be transformed into great holidays, and therefore by making here Eretz Yisrael, we will merit that ultimately we will be brought to Eretz Yisrael Kipshutai with the Gula Hamitis V'Hashlema. It should happen now, mamash.